everybody, welcome to EZAnime. Today we're discussing Hajime no Ippo, and not only are we discussing Hajime no Ippo, we have a special guest. First time, both Brad and I were surprised. We're like, wait, you haven't been on EZAnime yet?
Yeah.
We're correcting
Shocker.
that now.
Nice.
Michael Huber.
Hey,
Pumped. You're pumped.
Pumped. Talking about boxing.
I loved it when we've shot a bunch of things today, but when you came in, you were just so happy and excited.
Yeah.
And that energy is going to be good.
I'm so excited.
I feel like Huber always has a good energy that helps us all out.
Yeah, he does.
Like at E3, it definitely helps me out, Michael.
Support class.
It does. All of the allies give me different things. You give me energy.
Good.
For sure.
Spirit bomb.
Spirit bomb.
Coming your way.
Constant spirit bomb. Yeah. Appropriate. That's Michael Huber on the end. Right next to me, faithful anime brother,
Hello.
Bradley Ellis. How's it going, man?
I really wanted to do like some weird, awkward, like weeb, like hello thing like that, but
I think you
backed
did
out.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It was even weirder because you backed out of it.
Because I didn't fully commit.
I'm running the ship today. Ben Moore leading the charge on this one, this Hajime no Ippo episode. But before we get started talking about Hajime no Ippo, I want to get real for a second. And what I want to get real about is, as we've been doing EZAnime, how it started and how it's changed and where we are now, it's kind of undergone an evolution.
Right.
And the way that EZAnime works is Brad and I just really wanted to talk about things that we were watching, things that we were interested in. And then as we were making the show, it's like, well, you know, the community collectively knows way more about anime than we do. Let's hear about what they're interested in, and we'll do polls. And a lot of times, big shonen series are getting picked. And we basically are picking away at these shonen series, trying to watch as much as we can. But we can't ever, unfortunately, like prioritize EZAnime over other things. Brad is working on a retrospective. Huber has a weekly show that not that you're really, but just for Hajime no Ippo, you have a show that you're doing reviews. I've got a bunch of stuff going on, and as much as we enjoy EZAnime, I think we're kind of learning that, you know, we just want to be honest with you guys. This is not necessarily always going to be, we're covering this entire series.
Correct.
It's just kind of, we have to set a date when we choose to record. We'll hit that date, and what we can do is what we can do. And I know it's disappointing to a lot of you, and rightfully so. Like, you guys love these things, and there are just moments that we're not going to get to that you're going to be excited about. And I think the way that we're going to try to correct that is we're going to take a little bit more control over what we're picking and what we're talking about, and really think about, okay, this is what's going on this month. How much can we commit to? Like next week, for instance, we're going to be talking about Fooly Cooly. And that's 6 episodes. That's something we've already watched once. And so that we feel very confident in, that we're going to be able to talk about the whole thing, obviously, because it's not that much. But Hajime no Ippo, just regarding the anime, not even talking about the manga, there's 76 episodes in the first season, and then I believe it's 24 and then 25. I was able to get through 40 episodes of the first series, and then you guys were able to do the first 15 episodes.
I did like 21.
You did 20? 21? Okay.
21,
I had
something
3
like that.
discs.
You 3 discs
I
that you
watched
watched.
the discs.
You
You
watched
did
the
your
disc.
part, yeah.
I'm a very old school. I like having hard copies.
Yeah.
Or like an official streaming service. You know, I get sketched out. I've gotten too many
Sure.
viruses in
Yeah.
my day.
I also read about 15 chapters. I read the first volume, I think. Maybe a little more.
That's good, because I haven't read a single shred of the manga.
Yeah.
But Ben, I like that, you know, because I assume a lot of people watching haven't finished everything you talk about, you know?
Yeah,
so
correct.
it's cool for those people that are kind of watching it and as you go or whatever.
Yeah, I think something that I need to be better about with the projects that I'm working on, and I think would make for better content, is just being realistic. And sometimes I think being realistic is realizing that, like, you can't necessarily cover it entirely. And, you know, what's important to me is that we're honest with you guys. If you guys are like, oh man, I'm bummed out that they're not covering all of it, I'm out. I totally get that. I understand. I just want you to know where we're coming from, and why we're doing certain things the way it is. This is a show that we love. We don't want to give it up. I don't want to give it up.
Right.
I know you don't want to give it up. There's a bunch of things that we want to talk about. I really want to talk about My Hero Academia eventually. And we're excited to talk about Fooly Cooly. But so Gintama is one that we want to do really badly.
Gintama, yeah.
I think Gintama is definitely going to be a show where when we record that episode, it's like, this is what we could do right now.
I've seen a lot of Gintama already, which is nice.
Well, I haven't, so...
I'll need a refresher
Brad'll-
for sure. It's
Brad'll
been a
be carrying
long
that
time.
But that's the disclosure that I wanted to get out there for Hajime no Ippo. That's going to be our perspective. Me just being a little bit over the halfway mark, you being a little bit under the halfway mark, and you kind of still being at the front of it. But even with all of that, I think there's a lot to talk about with Hajime no Ippo. It's a show that right out of the gate, all three of us, I think, have really loved.
Yeah, I was surprised I actually liked it so much. I was very hesitant about this anime or manga or whatever. Boxing, whatever. That's cool, I guess. I knew a ton of people loved it already, so I understood. Then I started watching it, and I was like, man, anime just makes everything more interesting to me. Everything.
Absolutely. I just don't watch sports anime
I've only seen one
sports,
before.
But Hajime no Ippo makes me realize that is a dumb perspective to have, because it's been really exciting, and I mean it being boxing is important and is at the same time. I mean, the thing that you love in the story, that strong characters, good development, great pacing, all of that is still present. But yeah, Huber, you were talking about something you loved about Hajime no Ippo is how grounded it is.
Yeah. When I think of anime, I obviously think of I think of fantasy, sci-fi, magic, crazy outlandish things that are only possible in the realm of animation.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen that many grounded animes. I can think of Grave of the Fireflies, or, really I struggle to even think of grounded realistic animes. So watching this, I was so excited to go into it, because I was like, how are they gonna anime this up? And for a while they didn't. But as soon as this guy comes into the equation, the quick jabber, I'm like, all right, here we go. That is so anime.
Flicker jab.
The flicker jabs, and again, I'm pretty early on, but I can only imagine the progression of the techniques.
Absolutely.
That go on.
Huber, you're touching on a lot of things that I want to circle back around on and talk about. The way it's grounded and how it keeps the stuff interesting, and then the characters and all that. We're going to get there, but I think before we get into any of that, the first thing to tackle is... what is Hajime no Ippo? Obviously, just based on what we've said so far, you probably, it's about boxing, but there's the character, the main character, Makunouchi Ippo, is somebody, he's a kid at school that is very shy, has a very reserved personality.
Smaller.
Not somebody that would stand out in a crowd.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate underdog.
He's the ultimate underdog.
On.
Yeah, he gets picked on.
Right. Perfect fodder for a main character.
Correct.
Gets picked up, gets bullied, gets just
bullied a lot.
Beat the hell out of. Yeah. And
helping his mom out, single mother, going to school, working the tackle shop, the boating, the fishing.
I love the relationship between Ippo and his mother.
Yeah. It defied my expectations. Full on. There was a conversation early on when he was struggling with the responsibilities of school and boxing and everything, and then she said, Ippo, I'm still young. Go do what you want to do. I love you. Right. And I was like, whoa, I totally thought this was going to shift into the, what are you doing, Ippo? I don't want to see you fight. Why are you fighting?
Mom,
help me. Help me in the, it's your responsibility. You're the man of the house. Totally didn't go that way. It went
it feels like a realistic relationship between these two characters.
Yeah.
Big moment for me.
They're two characters that deeply love each other and accept each other, but there's also room for growth there. Ippo's mom, as much as she supports him, doesn't want to see him get hurt, and so she doesn't watch him fight. And so there are changes that happen there, and how she supports him and how active she gets changes a little bit throughout the series. But you get such a good sense of their relationship without them needing to spend too much time with it. You spend a little bit of time at the fishing shop here and there, but the show never feels like it arbitrarily is being like, okay, stop, we need to spend all of this time on the mom. It's just enough to give you exactly what you need. out of that relationship. But anyway, Ippo gets picked on and is saved one day by a guy, the best character in the whole goddamn show. I think we all agree with that.
Yes.
A guy named Takamura.
Yes.
And he's a middleweight boxer. And he inspires Ippo. He gives Ippo somebody to look up to. Again, you have this shy character, this meek character. He sees what is he basically envisions as the epitome of strength. And he says that he wants to box. And Takamura is like, what? You can't, you're not going to be able to do this, kid. And so he gives him a challenge.
He's like offended, too.
He's like offended,
He's
right.
like, you don't just say you
Right.
want to box on a whim.
Right, and immediately you know how much boxing means to this guy.
Passion.
That passion, and that passion is so essential to Takamura's character and why he's so much fun to watch.
Dude, that passion's like addictive to me.
Yeah.
It got me hyped
Takamura,
up.
I'm like, yeah. Oh my god, yes.
So he gives him this challenge, basically, where he kicks this tree, and he has to, as the leaves are falling, he has to get 10 leaves.
Like the most anime training cycle you could think
I
of.
immediately thought of Shenmue. Shenmue 2, you have to like catch leaves.
Long story short, after some struggle, Ippo is able to complete the challenge. He's brought into this gym, the Kamogawa gym.
Love the gym, dude.
Love the gym. And from there, you get the start of Ippo's boxing journey. And essentially, just to boil it down, the way that this show starts out is he's going through challenges, and those challenges are shaped by his opponent, where it's like, okay, you're trying to be Rookie of the Year, this is what you need to do that. And he's constantly defined by his goals. And so it's just kind of Ippo's journey as a young boxer, from a nobody to a very strong person.
I loved his journey of getting the acceptance of the rest of the boxing gym.
Totally.
No
that was
one
really
like
well done.
respected him. And when like the old man, his master, his trainer, future trainer, finally accepts him, dude.
Yes.
It's like a feel-good moment.
Yeah.
It's like I got accepted by him. That's what I felt.
And I love how he hides his emotion. He'll be like not facing them, smiling, and then he'll turn around like angry.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, the earning of respect is really important in Hajime no Ippo, and it's something that I feel like every time they earn that respect, it doesn't feel like a gimme. It's like
No, he earns it.
like Kamogawa is a complete jerk until Ippo goes through hell against his rival, the speedster Miyata, the counterpunch Miyata. And it's only after like taking an absolute beating and showing just like pure determination that he's able to get up. And that respect carries over into a lot of characters with Takamura, which we'll touch on later, and then his opponents as well. The way that he earns their respect is really interesting. So
Yeah, totally.
Takamura's other two friends, Aoki and
Kimura.
Kimura.
Dude.
Yeah. I want them to like honor and respect Ippo so much. I'm like, yo, don't tease him. Like, don't give him a hard time. Don't make fun of him. It's like I love when they're on good
helping him out,
terms.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's hard because there are things that I want to
Yeah.
say, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. Are there any other things, based on what you guys have seen with Hajime no Ippo so far, that you feel like are essential to the show that I haven't covered in basically the brief synopsis? Something that you would say is essential for getting someone excited to watch it, or why it's worth their time?
I really like the way it's thrown different challenges at him. Because boxing is a technical sport, but unlike Dragon Ball Z or, another fighting style anime, there's only so much you can do in the ring with boxing.
Right.
But by, having the battle against a fast opponent, then having a battle against a stronger opponent, and then the guy that cheated with the headbutts,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then Rubber Arm Man, like there's been enough variation in the fighting and different obstacles to overcome that it maintained my interest. Like each fight, I wanted to see, what is Ippo gonna have to overcome against this particular opponent.
I would say I loved that they gave context to all these opponents he's fighting too.
Yes.
They always kind of explain their story and why they're kind of fighting like that.
And I feel bad.
Yes,
it makes me feel bad.
There's a certain fighter I definitely felt bad for too.
Yeah, there's like, because someone has to lose, and it gets me. Obviously you're gonna root for Ippo all the way, but it's like
These people have their own goals, their own dreams and stuff like that. Sometimes they're noble dreams.
And
Right.
Ippo's smashing those dreams for his own dream,
The first major section of this podcast is I do want to dig into the characters, because I think that is the most essential thing to Hajime no Ippo. But just before we get to that, one other quick, just very general thing that I want to say is that might pique somebody's interest is this is this first season, I believe all the seasons, I could be wrong on that, but just focusing on this first season, it's done by Madhouse, the studio Madhouse. Legendary studio. They've done things like Ninja Scroll, Perfect
why it looks
Blue,
familiar.
Death Note,
Yeah.
One Punch Man.
Great animation,
So,
yeah.
probably things you have watched and enjoyed before, you'll watch and enjoy now.
Are we gonna get to the nudity, or can we bring that up now?
I didn't have nudity written
Okay.
down. I had humor written down.
Okay.
Let's talk about the nudity.
Very strange.
I'm curious what the nudity was, because when I saw the nudity stuff, it was in the manga.
Okay.
So I was wondering if they'd censor it more.
They blur it out.
Because I know they censored some of the violence.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes when like people got punched in the manga, like blood everywhere.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just very weird and shocking. And I was like, whoa. Just in the shower and like constant references
Yeah.
to Ippo's
Oh yeah.
parts and like like legit swinging it around
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do remember
in
that.
the shower. And I was just like, it caught me off guard.
I was like, oh, this is 1989 manga humor
I don't
right
know.
here.
Yeah,
It's like Shin-chan
I
humor.
really liked the
Yeah.
humor.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about with the nudity and the swinging it around and talking about the different like sizes in penis, like
Yeah.
bring it like Ippo has a huge dong.
They
That's
say-
a-
they say,
that
like,
is
he
the
should
butt
be,
of many jokes.
They're like, he should be
Yeah.
a heavyweight or
And-
something.
Things get grabbed in the shower. And yeah, when you see it, I think at first especially, you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh.
But at the same time, it's locker room humor, I
Right.
guess, you
so
know?
that's the thing is, Ippo has a very physical sense of humor, where they're taking a look at each other and they're playing that into the jokes, and that makes sense in this testosterone-fueled world, in
totally.
the world where strength is everything, that they're focusing on the body so much, and it just felt consistent with the way that everything else was presented. Like if I was a boxer, like it would just, because it consumes so much of your time, I think it would change the way that you think. And I think that's why, like, the humor is not one note. They do a lot of different jokes, a lot of different physical jokes. Like, flies being down is another thing. But so much of it is physical, and that makes sense when you think about the show. And I liked it. I also just thought it was legitimately hilarious.
I was but many emotions. I was shocked. I was laughing. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, and I think what makes that humor
Yeah.
work, especially, is Ippo, right? And
The
moving
way
into
he
characters.
responds.
The way that he
is
responds,
so
like
funny.
Ippo is just purely good. Like, we're talking about fighters that have different ideologies. Some of them are okay with bending the rules. Some of them are okay with like puffing themselves up, being overconfident. Ippo is just, I'm gonna work hard and I love this thing. And he doesn't, at least what I've seen so far, he doesn't really stray from that.
Yeah.
Like, he's just fundamentally good, and he doesn't really judge people. When
Nice
something,
guy.
Yeah, when something
Nicest guy.
Nice guy,
Nice
Ippo.
guy, dude. Yeah.
when something bad is happening to Ippo, he's not making excuses. He's not saying, why is this happening? And I think when he gets into those awkward physical situations, because of like his pure-heartedness, it makes it even funnier.
It does, for sure.
There's
like pantsing him in the restaurant.
yeah.
yeah. Oh my God,
It
poor Ippo.
So good.
There's a scene that you didn't get to where he goes and visits a doctor.
Yeah.
And this doctor has to fix his hand, and she's a very attractive doctor. And while she's sort of checking him out, he gets an erection, and he's so embarrassed that he starts punching his erection.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
And it's just like,
It's crazy.
It doesn't last very long. It's just
Yeah.
a few seconds. But again, it's just this kid who's so embarrassed that hasn't had a lot of interactions with women.
Just a high school kid.
It's just kind
High
of like
school
this
kid.
immediate response that he has.
yeah, he's like,
that
what,
is-
15 or 16?
It's just,
like
I've
that,
never
yeah.
seen graphic nudity in an anime. It was blurred out, of course.
You haven't?
But I've
you never
never
seen like Ninja Scroll or anything?
Oh man, Huber.
Yeah, I guess like Death Note or Akira has.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, male
Oh.
parts was very graphic. So I don't know.
Very graphic.
Yeah, despite them censoring it
Maybe
out.
we need to do some easy anime after hours.
Oh,
Get-
some...
find the seedier, find the seedier things. Please do not leave recommendations.
Oh, you don't say that. Now they're going
Yeah,
to.
I mean they are anyway.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Ippo, we've talked about his pure-heartedness, we've talked about the physical humor, but I think one thing that makes Hajime no Ippo such an interesting show is the different ideologies of the fighters. And you guys kind of already talked about this, where you said everybody has a different reason to fight, but there's sort of like things that they're hanging their hat on, like, this is my strategy to win. But it's not just technique. It's not just like, oh, I'm a speedy guy. It's like, this is what I believe in. This is why I chose that technique, because it fits my personality. And you see that in a lot of different ways. Like, you have Oda, who's a slacker, but then eventually gets motivated because his girlfriend threatens to break up with him. You have Fujiwara, who's the headbutt guy. You have Kobashi, who's a lame boxer, I guess, in the sense that he just tries to win through points. He knows he's not as strong. He knows.
Different technique, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's spying on Ippo. And, that's such a good scene with Kobashi, where he is spying on him, and Ippo, like, has his notebook, and he's like, you probably think less of me. He's like, no, like, this is okay. And what's so cool is you have this pure-hearted Ippo who is primarily about power. Ippo has big punches.
Yes. Immediately why I loved him.
Yeah, right. Like, everybody was saying this is the anime for Huber, and it makes total sense. But it's not just... You were talking about how Ippo had to respond to his opponents, but I also think what's interesting is how his opponents respond to him, where Kobashi, being inspired by Ippo, wants to get a knockout, overextends himself, goes away from this winning strategy because he's fighting up against somebody that's so strong and pure-hearted it changes him. Or another fight that I really liked is when he's fighting the American boxer.
Ozuna.
Oh, yeah.
Ozuna?
Ozuma, I believe. Is that the
Ozma.
Dude,
Loved it.
Dude, I love that character.
Yeah. Doing it for his friends.
Doing it for
family.
What did he call her?
Mama-san.
Yeah,
Mama-san.
Oh.
Mama-san.
Yep.
Dude.
Where
exchanging blows.
Exchanging blows. Yeah,
So
there's a lot of exchanging blows.
Oh.
And Azuma is stronger than Ippo.
Which I loved. I love that dynamic.
Right. You have Ippo, who's winning by surprising people with his strength. Azuma's much stronger than Ippo. Not much stronger, but like stronger enough to win the match. And Ippo just psychs him out.
Yeah.
He sticks in. He makes it feel like
mental damage.
The mental damage
is real.
And
Yeah.
that's how he wins is by sticking in there, by not showing that weakness. And that's such an interesting thing as well.
And again, you're talking about animation, like how good the animation is.
Yeah.
I thought it was so cool when Ippo gets knocked down, and it was this weird, like, knockout animation. Kamigawa looked like this, like, weird stick figure character, like, get up! And just that presentation was so cool.
Yeah. Are there any other fights that stuck out with you, or the sort of dynamic between Ippo's opponents and Ippo that you thought was interesting that I have yet to mention?
No, I thought the headbutter was really interesting.
Okay.
That was really cool to me. Just because of the mindset of I can't beat him. I'm gonna do what I can to win. I'm gonna try to cheat. I'm gonna try to do anything in my power to win. And he's like, just the perspective of him getting in front of the ref and getting the headbutt in, and just seeing how the crowd reacted. That's when I really fell in love with the bullies too. The dynamic of the bullies commentating on bending the rules and cheating. I thought that was really cool.
What was Rival's name again? I forgot.
Miyata.
His rematch with Miyata after he did like training. They actually had like a real deal fight. Is when
fight
like,
number
Ippo,
2.
Yeah, Ippo was like training for the counter kind of punch like that, and Miyata is like knowing about the like the uppercut kind of finisher move going on in there. Oh my god!
Grazed the chin.
Right.
Oh,
Can't move.
Yeah, it's really good.
Miyata is a rival. I think with any rival character, you want to give them a certain edge, a certain confidence, and Miyata certainly has that. I mean, he's
like the cool character,
right? They describe him as a prodigy, right?
The Sasuke,
and you can
your
definitely
typical anime rival,
Vegeta.
You can see that confidence, but very quickly Miyata becomes somebody that easily respects Ippo. They don't like drag out this I'm better than you, no, I'm better than you. It very quickly becomes, no, we're both strong, we're both going to work.
One of my favorite moments is when he's standing in the crowd.
Yeah.
And Ippo wins, and he's like, you barely won, Ippo, you better get better, it's not going to be as interesting for me.
Right.
And walks out, I was like, dude,
right, but,
sick.
But he's watching his matches with intensity. He's taking things from his matches. And then you see Ippo watching Miyata win, and just that constant push forward, that focus towards the goal.
Love the VHS tapes.
Yeah, they
reminds me
tapes.
of like classic WWF, like watching some old tape of wrestling. I was just like, oh, this is
Study
awesome.
this.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I think what was even better for me than the relationship between Ippo and his opponents is Ippo's relationship with his friends, with Takamura, with Aoki, with Kimura, because of how real it felt. I think they don't, when Ippo gets strong, they're not suddenly nice to him. They pick on him. They give him a hard time. They use his shyness, his meekness to their advantage to puff themselves up. Like, there are times where they're kind of scummy, but it's never scummy where it's like, I don't like you, or you're doing something wrong. It's like, think about any best friend that you have, the way that you push each other's buttons, the way that you're kind of constantly competing with each other. That's what these friends are doing, and I think that's why it's so much fun to watch. And Takamura, best character in the show.
Best.
Like, somebody by day who has all this bravado, but then he eventually invites Ippo in.
His apartment.
Dude, the apartment scene. Emotion.
One of the best scenes that I've seen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he's like starving.
Yeah, he's like fasting.
Going to the fridge. Like, ah.
Right. And that scene where he's just reaching out to the fridge, you think, like, no matter what happens, whether he opens that fridge and eats something or whether he doesn't, and he ends up not, he ends up having resistance, you're like, I feel for you either way. I respect you either way. Like, you realize, like, you see how much Ippo is going through, and then you see how much farther along Takamura is, and, like, how painful, like, just because Takamura is successful and because he's been doing this for a long time doesn't mean that this sport is any easier. In fact, quite the opposite. And that was a really good contrast where you're seeing this middleweight boxer versus this fleggling lightweight.
Some of the most jolly facial expressions
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Yep.
You're fighting. He's like, you're training with me today. He's like, get in the ring with me. So
He's
good.
like beats the shit out of him in the ring.
Or when he's like, Ippo, hold this bag for, or like punch the bag. They're on both sides of the big bag. And Ippo punches, and he's like, "Oh, good punch." Just kidding.
Or
so funny.
when Takamura needs a sparring partner, and he like picks Aoki and Kimura, and just doesn't let up.
Yeah,
like, you're like, he's gonna kill them.
And they're just
He's
like,
just
why
gonna
me?
kill his friends.
Why me?
What the hell is going on?
Headbutts him in the crowd.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want to fight now.
Yeah. We're talking about the animation and the humor again with these characters, and I think that kind of naturally brings us to pace of the show. And as much as I love the characters, as much as I love the fighting, the matches, the intensity of it, I think this show nails pace so well.
well.
So
The
well.
build up to a fight.
Yeah.
And then you get to settle in with a couple episodes on a fight. You know,
Right.
by the time it's over, you're like, all right, good. Like, time to train for the next one. You know, the train for the fight and then having the fight with the character development sprinkled kind of in both. You know, you get character development obviously within the fights,
Right.
but then outside of that too, it's just, it nails it.
Yeah, talking about shonen anime, I think a common criticism, and rightfully so, is battles just go on for too long, or there's too much build-up, or it's with these shows that you need to do dozens of episodes on. I think there's a desire to be like, okay, this is really important, so we need to inflate it somehow. And within 2 episodes, you'll have the introduction of the next opponent, you'll have the preparation for it, you'll have the match itself, you'll have the resolution, and then you'll have the introduction to the sort of the next arc. And it doesn't feel too short ever. It's like, nope, you're giving me perfect justification for why I should be invested in this.
It's the variety, the of the opponents and the move
Right.
sets. You know, it's a different struggle each time versus one big bad villain who takes up a huge chunk of time. I think constantly changing opponents makes it just fly by.
Yeah, because there's no like final villain really yet that we could like.
Yeah, it's gonna be
peek
Miata.
up.
Obviously,
yeah, I mean, like
but-
they're gonna be right. It's gonna be like Naruto Sasuke style,
Yeah.
but you don't got no like Madara or Orochimaru in the background.
Yeah.
where we're like, well, we know eventually this is coming.
Totally, it's always
like
someone
one
new on
thing,
the scene.
Yeah, someone new. They could like I'm interested to see how the newer opponents, how they will be in the future compared to what we've seen.
Yeah, especially when Ippo gets
Because
renowned.
The series goes on for a long time.
Right. Hajime no Ippo always feels like it's progressing toward something, even in its most lighthearted moments. There's an episode where they go to the beach. They have this beach house,
Yeah, I love this episode.
and they're chasing girls, and it's like that classic anime thing where it's like, okay, this is the part where we're gonna
like the
make
beach
those
episode.
jokes yeah, the beach episode, exactly. That's a common thing.
Yes.
But in addition to that humor, they're there to train. So they spend, the morning chasing after girls, then at night they're training. It never feels like, okay, this is the episode where it's all lighthearted all the time. Or like we're talking about Takamura beating the hell out of his friends. He's doing it because he's training. There's always, even when it doesn't seem like it, the reason that they're there, the reason that they're doing these jokes is because, no, there's purpose behind it. It's not just a joke for the sake of being a joke, if that makes sense.
I also like that Ippo is in a smaller class than Takamura.
Featherweight.
I appreciate that dynamic and that storytelling that, they're not going to face each other. They're not going to have that, we got to face each other now. We're going to be rivals. I like that they are in two different weight classes with the commonality of the gym. They're gym partners and they're friends, but they're fighting in two different leagues with their own progressions,
Sure.
Yeah.
With that, I think it's because Takamura, it doesn't feel like he's just retracing Takamura's steps.
Exactly. It's their own. Yeah, they're on their own paths, which I
separate
love.
journeys, yeah.
Because I think that would delve into lazy storytelling, where it's like, okay, hey, I'm every single opponent. Takamura, how did you deal with it?
Yeah.
Okay, cue flashback.
Totally.
It allows them to get creative and make
Do
sense
their
of
own
it.
thing.
And another thing that I want to talk about with the pace is when you have boxing, there are certain realities that you just have to accept. It's like they're going to need to spend a shit ton of time in the gym.
Yeah.
This one gym
Yeah.
that they go to. It's not like One Piece where they can just go to a new island. It's not like Dragon Ball where they can just go to a new planet. It's like, all right, we need to be in the gym, and when we're fighting, most of the time when we're fighting, we're going to be in a boxing ring.
Yeah.
This is what a boxing ring looks like. And so it's hard, I think, to have a lot of environmental variety or setting shock or anything like that. And so they find creative ways of working around that. Where
Having more people or more lights, or obviously a bigger stage for a higher level fight.
Right.
I'm sure the finals will be in maybe a bigger location or.
Because when the show starts out, you sort of get into this rhythm where it's like, okay, he's fighting these rookies, he's working towards this rookie championship. We're gonna spend a couple episodes on each fight. Okay, here's a new fighter, and then it gets more elaborate where it's like, oh, you have Mashiba, you have Flicker Jab Man, where he beats Miyata, and so it gets more complex. The fights get more complex, and then okay, now we've introduced a couple of fights that are more complex than what you were seeing before. Now we're gonna focus on an entirely different character, or we're gonna focus on a different physical problem with Ippo. And so I commend them for that, where I think the biggest risk of this show is it just sort of feels like formulaic. They find creative ways of fighting that formula. Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Flicker Man. So weird. I was like, all right, here we go. Anime. It was so anime.
Another thing that I want to talk about with pace is there's always an immediate goal for Ippo to focus on. There's always something that he's chasing after. But I really liked the way the show cleverly introduced things and then slowly made them more important over time. And the example that immediately jumps to mind is the love interest Kumi, where he's running by her and he's on the bike and he's like, oh, she's really cute. And this is at a point where Ippo is beginning to build his confidence. And then he goes into a pastry store, finds that she works there. And then you eventually find out, oh, she's Mashiba's sister, or she's Mashiba's sister. She's part of his all tragic past. This character who you just thought that Ippo thought was cute is a lot more elaborate and complex than you initially realized. And they do that with a bunch of different things. They characters that are just kind of on the sidelines, just kind of characters that, you know, are fighting or doing their own thing. It's like, oh, now they're really important. And they introduce them very early on. I think the bullies are a good example as well, because the bullies are there initially to give Ippo that initial adversity, to give him,
drive the plot along.
drive the plot along. But then the bullies come around and they start supporting Ippo. And
when they go to the matches,
matches.
Feel good moments.
Right. And like these people that just treated him like shit, it would be so easy for them to fade in the background. But you have this emotional moment where he's trying to say sorry. He's like, your strength made me realize that I'm a piece of shit and I shouldn't have done that. And it's just such an emotional scene.
I love the scene where he introduces them to all the other bullies, like around in the school. He like takes them out back and there's all these bullies there.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah. And he's like, this guy's a pro boxer. Everyone's like, whoa.
You have fans and they're all like
So
blushing. Yeah.
So funny.
It was a good scene.
The final thing that I want to move on, the final block, and then we can just kind of, anything that we missed, we can go back. But I want to talk about the animation, which is something that we've already talked about. You said you were curious about how they were going to animify Hajime no Ippo.
Yeah.
And again, we were talking about how they, like, with the pacing of the show, they mix it up. They also mix it up visually with the fighter's style. And so you have the flicker jab, you have the shotgun, and that is exaggerated. It looks really, really impressive.
Yeah.
When Ippo is doing these huge uppercuts, when Takamura is knocking them out in one hit, the
body blow
of
to
Miyata,
the American, when it like the shockwave basically like goes through him. It was like he hit him with a blaster.
a lot of this stuff, for as impressive as it looks and as grandiose as it can be, is based in reality, is based in real boxing. And they go out of their way to be like, no, here's why this makes sense. It doesn't just feel like some crazy supernatural thing that this person can do. It's like, yeah, it looks really, really impressive, but here's like the logic behind why they're doing it. And they never over-explain it either, which I think is really, really
Yeah, they don't spend too much time on that.
The physicality of the fights is really good. I mean, when somebody gets punched and the screen is shaking, or they're trying to get up.
The sound's really good too.
Yeah.
I always prefer small scale fights to large scale wars. I love one-on-ones or like a small handful of people, and that's what this is about. That one-on-one style, intimate clashes, knowing your opponent. And you talk about the pacing during the fights, when they have a break or when the bell rings, like learning the tactics of someone from Kamigawa, the cut man, you know, and he's like, yo, do this, like adjust your strategy. I love all those moments. And just the mind over matter is what Ippo's all about, you know? He has the physical strength. He doesn't have as much technical skill
as others. He doesn't have like a good punch. They always say that, He's like his footwork's bad or something like that.
Yeah, he's a raw talent and he's getting better as it goes on, but it's like, you know, a lot of these people have been training their whole life, but the mental toughness and the willpower is inspiring.
It's got that Rock Lee spirit, dude.
Exactly. Yeah, the spirit. You know, they're always talking about the youth is all about the spirit, you know, and it's just it's inspiring. Like, I know that's pretty much the point of his character, is to inspire people around him, and I really feel that.
Brad, I'm so glad you brought up Rock Lee.
Rock Lee, yeah.
Because Rock Lee is my favorite character in Naruto.
Yep.
He's a real good one.
And
Rock
the
Lee
reason that he's my favorite character is you were talking about, like, there are no tricks with Rock Lee.
No. He is what he calls himself, a genius of hard work.
Right.
Because he has no natural ability or anything like that. And he earns it, everything he has.
And it's always infinitely more fascinating to watch somebody that works hard than somebody that has something
Just
that you can't relate to in real life.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
thanks,
you can...
Sasuke.
Right.
Mr. Perfect.
Right.
We got there. We got to Naruto.
But yeah, the show does an excellent job of conveying the physicality of fights. And I think another thing, again, talking about treading that line between being distinct and interesting enough, but not going too far that it feels hokey, the way the fighters look as well.
Totally.
Yeah, none of them look
very
like
important.
super duper ridiculous anime characters yet that I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously there's still anime.
Rubberman.
But
the
I'm
only
not
one.
seeing some dude with like Super Saiyan hair yet or anything crazy like that.
Absolutely.
Or like a Brawly character.
Yeah.
Something yet.
Yeah.
Right. Like Mashiba, and the way that they...
Is that Rubberman? Who's
No.
Rubberman?
What?
Who's Rubberman?
Rubberman.
the quick jabber, the whip. This dude.
Oh, look, that's Mashiba. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just call him Rubberman.
Mashiba...
He's got like
Rubberman.
rubber arm, dude.
Throw me off. Back at the One Piece episode or something. Mashiba, like, he's got this long jaw, this longer hair.
He's got kind of that like Frankenstein ghoulish
Right,
vibe.
he's got like a Jokerish
Yeah,
laugh.
it's got like a more anime vibe, for
Right.
sure.
They kind of immerse you in that kind of skeeziness of that character enough, and then suddenly they're like, yeah, but his parents died, and oh, he really does care about his sister, and so they do sort of play with your expectations a little bit in a cool way, for sure. And man, just some of the, I don't think you guys got to Sendo, and he's my favorite opponent so far in the show, because he's basically a mirror of Ippo, where he's equally passionate about boxing, and you have, like, he's different in ways. He's a little bit more confident, a little bit more frank than Ippo is, but at the same time, like, he is so passionate and so persistent that he convinces Ippo to do a match when he probably physically shouldn't, and just watching them face off against each other, the way that the match ends is like these fighters respect each other so much, they're like, we're not going to stop until we can't anymore. And you hear like Sendo talking to himself and commenting on the match, and then all of a sudden, like, he's in the corner and he just goes unconscious in the corner. Like, he just shuts down, and it's so cool. But again, talking about the animation, one look from him conveys so much. Like, when he looks at Ippo and he's just stone faced, you see the intensity, the passion that he has. And it's so cool.
Just the animation what's the word I'm looking for, where it's like over exaggerating everything. But in a realistic world, I think is such a cool clash. It's such a cool mix.
Brett, was there anything else about the animation that we haven't talked about that you thought was impactful or well done, or
That Mike Tyson reference. Peekaboo.
The peekaboo. I mean, I love the peekaboo. I was thinking about that earlier, like specifically for the animation. Like,
it looks so cool.
It does. It looks really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes everything seem more. I mean, it makes it seem more animated. It reminds me of like a fighting game almost sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's Madhouse. It always looks really good. It's kind of what I expect from them, like top tier animation. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's good stuff.
It feels 90s, but it was in the 2000s.
Yeah, I
early
believe the original
2000s?
run for this first season was 2000 to 2003.
Okay, so right there, yeah. That 90s carryover a little
Right.
bit, yeah.
Talking about criticism, talking about things that I don't like in the show, I hate doing this, but I don't have a lot to criticize. I guess the only thing so far is, like, the pacing is really good, the animation is great, the characters are well developed and interesting, the fights are always interesting. I'm never finding myself getting bored during a fight. But I guess when I think about it, like, it still very much is a shonen anime. Like, the elements that it's playing with, you've seen before. You've seen
The psychological, like, I need to guard this next attack.
Right.
Like, total, yeah.
Special moves like that.
Yeah.
Right, like, essentially, I mean, if you boil it down to its raw building blocks, it's like, okay, how do I get through this particular set of obstacles with this opponent? All right, here's the, like, underdog hero of the whole thing. Here's the goof off best friend mentor kind of person. Like, these are all very familiar things, but at the same time, so what? Like,
Yeah, so what? So what?
yeah, I guess
what?
that's true, but
Who cares? It works.
right, when it's so much fun to watch, when it's so well done, that criticism just feels, it just feels like such a limp criticism, I guess.
Well, I'm wondering, again, you know, I have a long way to go. I thought to myself, I wonder if the show is going to go down that dark hole of, like, he kills a man in the ring, or he gets hit so hard he's like paralyzed, or
$1 Million Baby
like
style.
$1 Million Baby style. I thought, you know,
Oh my God.
like there's some moments where I'm like, all right, this is pretty heavy stuff, and animes get pretty dark. So
Yeah, like what if Ippo's like juicing up or something like before a match?
I can't imagine that, but like, you know,
Anything to win.
They always talk about like, you know, if I took that blow, I would die. It's like, whoa, is someone gonna get hit so hard they die or get paralyzed? Like, I don't know. The possibility is there,
Right.
which is crazy enough that even that they put that possibility
Yeah,
in
they
there
say it, yeah.
is pretty intense.
I think for me with Hajime no Ippo is when you have other shonen anime where they have different arcs, right? And Hajime no Ippo has very clearly defined arcs. What I end up going through as a viewer is I'll get really attached to a certain arc, and then when it pivots, I am like, this is fine, but based on where you went here, I wish I could have had more of this. Like, this is what I liked in this film. This is like the struggle I liked between these characters. Hajime no Ippo has not fallen victim to that yet, where it's not really pivoting, it's just evolving. It's just getting more interesting. Like,
Because he's getting better.
right, the opponents are just getting more complex and have more to them. Ippo as a character is getting more complex and has more to him. And so I'm not finding myself really like comparing these arcs, but just getting more and more enthralled with how it's changing in really cool ways. And I think, again, that speaks to the pacing and the characters and all that. But yeah, very cool. Not something I can say about too many shonen
Yeah,
animes,
seriously.
for sure. Yeah. Let's do a quick wrap up. Is there anything with Hajime no Ippo, any characters that we haven't mentioned, any specific moments that we haven't mentioned that you've seen so far that really stuck out to you? Any other final words that you want to say?
I briefly said earlier that, you know, they've done a good job of making me care about the opponents.
Yeah.
You know, I was sad to see some of them lose, but I'm happy that even through a loss, the characters continue to grow. When Oda lost, his girlfriend was so happy that he had put the effort in. His trainer said, "Yo, be here tomorrow. Like, you put so much effort in, you've changed." Same with the American Azuma.
Azuma, yeah.
Azuma, yeah. Same with Azuma. When he lost, he was so bummed. He felt like he let everybody down, but everyone in the arena was cheering because they had such a good fight. And that stuff doesn't feel forced. It feels natural. You don't really see it coming, and I really appreciate that storytelling.
Yeah. I guess I just want to say how surprised I was by this series.
What specifically
Because,
made you
like,
so surprised?
for me, it's boxing. How much can they do with boxing? How often is this going to be in the gym or him running and training? How is this not going to get boring to me yet?
Yeah.
And it still wasn't boring to me yet, and I think it was because of the characters and the motivations. I didn't expect so much depth from that, especially from like a shonen. Like, I know there's good characters and stuff like that, but I was just really surprised by it.
Absolutely. I just want to emphasize once again, man, this show made me laugh.
Yeah, it's fun.
This show made me laugh so much,
Takamura, dude.
which is not something that I expected from, you know, an underdog story so much. Just belly laughs, man.
For sure.
It's good. So, Huber,
Yeah.
the final part of the show, what we do, because we can only cover one anime with these long episodes, we like to do a little recommendation, little tip of the hat to something else, some other anime that you've seen that you think other people would enjoy. It can be anything at all. Is there something that you have that you recommend to
Do you need a
somebody?
minute to think?
No, I mean, I don't watch enough.
No, that's fine.
You
It
know,
doesn't matter.
I'm a
It doesn't matter.
newbie,
You
so
You don't have to prove anything.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I mean, I'm watching Boruto right now,
So
There it is.
and
Boom.
what
I
I
haven't
what,
seen anything of Boruto. Tell me
okay.
about it.
What I really want to say is the criticism for the show right now, the Boruto criticism,
Yeah.
is that it all feels like filler. But that's actually what I love about the show, is that we're going through
The day-to-day?
daily ninja life in the village at school, and I'm okay with that. You know, the Shippuden journey
Not necessarily as high stakes
was
right now.
so long and bloated with all the filler that it had and start and stop. It's like I've been up here with Shippuden for like so many years because it took so long to get through. I mean, that was years of like the most hardcore, high stakes, emotional, draining anime. You know, it was so much of an investment. This feels carefree, feels chill, and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really surprised by the way they treat the characters of The Last Generation. They don't shove them in your face. They're in the background. And it's always interesting to see where they are, what they've become, and how they've changed with the times.
So the question that I would have about Boruto is you're dealing with the children of these beloved well-known characters that you've spent years with.
Yeah.
And to me, that would just seem very hard to develop because it's like, okay, you want them to sort of echo that character because otherwise that wouldn't feel right, but they can't be the same person. So how do they make them continually interesting?
They've done it beautifully, Ben. It's unbelievable. Because Boruto is out of control.
He's like...
But in a different way than Naruto.
He's like rebellious like Naruto in a lot of ways, but different.
He's rebellious.
How is he different?
He's rebellious, but at the same time, he's
super caring.
He's super caring. He's already integrated in the class and has friends. So he's not just like
he's not ostracized the way
he's not a goofball ninja. Like he's not terrible at everything.
Yeah. And, Sadara, I forgot how to say her name. Anyway, Sasuke and Sakura's daughter, she has this stubbornness, nose up, stuck up, Sasuke style, but in a different way of like, she's kind of a goody two-shoes, Sasuke didn't have time for people because he was like, I'm the best. I don't care. I'm doing my own thing. She's like, no, like, we need to follow the rules. Like, this isn't how it's done. We need to do it this way.
By the books.
Yeah, by the books. And yeah, it just feels right. It feels cozy being in there. I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it.
Good.
Another surprise element of it is the way the village has
evolved. That's one thing I noticed immediately.
Is so cool. There's this like Kingdom Hearts train that goes around that they always ride on.
What makes it a Kingdom Hearts train?
What's the
train?
train?
Jolly train.
What's the train in
Just a
Kingdom
jolly
Hearts?
train.
It's like
No, which one is it in though? It's the one with Roxas.
Two.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're playing with the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the town?
Twilight Town.
Yeah. Twilight Town vibes. There we go. There's this train. They go to like the burger shop. There's like
they're like hanging out on the top of the train eating burgers and stuff.
Hanging out in the parks, dude. Like kids are coming by playing with balls in the parks. The ball rolls over to Naruto, and they're like, Mama. Naruto's just like throwing the ball back. It's cozy, man. It's not like all-out war, Akatsuki in the caves.
Right.
It's just hanging out in the village, and I appreciate it. But at the same time, the seeds are planted for
this baby's gonna go for a while,
the future.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm nervous about the pacing and the filler because Shippuden was absolutely butchered for the last 150 episodes.
Well, there is no more
with
manga
starting,
for this.
stop. It was just insane.
That sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I get that from a business standpoint. You want to milk it. You want to keep it going. Shippuden did end on the 500th episode. I know they obviously wanted to get to that point.
Oh my God, so much.
But
I love how emotionally invested you are in Naruto. And to me, the biggest recommendation for Boruto is, since I've known you, you've been talking about and watching Naruto. It's like been a show that has meant so much to you, and you've invested a lot. You've been through a lot of heartache with the filler.
Yeah.
It's been brutal at points.
Brutal.
But in spite of all of that, we end it. We end that story that you spent so much of your life with.
Yeah.
And you say, this show is good enough that I'm willing to dive back in.
I was so skeptical. The only reason I even watched a couple episodes was because I wanted to watch the movies, Naruto the Last and Boruto the movie, because the creator was involved with both, and it felt like kind of an ending to that. I watched those. I was like, okay, I watched them. I'll watch a little Boruto. And then immediately, Boruto himself was so cool. And Shikamaru's son, like they're best buds. Just them hanging out is enough to watch. Like that, I was immediately invested. And there's a really sick, I know you hated it for some reason, but when the first episode of Boruto, the first 2 minutes, not a spoiler because it's the first 2 minutes of the show, is a flash way in the forward. Like we're gonna end up here, and I loved that. I was like, whoa,
Okay,
insane.
I'll tell you why I didn't like
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
It's because I don't want to know where it's going.
True.
Like, I know
I get it.
Boruto's going to get a scar in his eye now.
For sure.
And if I see this character in the series, eventually I'm going to know they're going to
he's
fight.
sketchy, yeah.
I just, like, I know things that are going to happen. I don't want to know that.
For sure. I get that. 100%.
Brad, give me a recommendation.
Dragon Ball Super.
Nice. Dragon Ball Naruto,
Yeah.
dude. I'm digging this.
This is something that Kyle Bossman is also
Yeah,
super
a lot of the
behind.
same vibe, a lot of cozy vibes going on. Like, I've seen one episode of Boruto, but I was like, it's time to go back to Dragon Ball. It's been a long time. Like,
Yeah.
watching Dragon Ball Super feels like a homecoming. Like, I'm coming home to old friends I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is there's high stakes, dude, but it's not necessarily always like the super duper like highest stakes with
Yeah.
like Cell coming or blowing up the it's not
Yeah.
always the planet just blowing up. I mean, yes,
Exactly.
that does happen, but it's how they handle it. And a lot of the new characters are really awesome characters.
Yeah.
Like you guys have seen, because the Dragon Ball Super retreads the ground of the first two movies, like Resurrection F and Battle of
Yeah.
the Gods.
Same with Boruto, yeah.
It does do that. But like, I never thought I would like the character Beerus so much, who is the guy he fights in Battle of the Gods like that.
Yeah.
Super like just loves food, but is like some really intense like god of destruction.
Yeah.
And it expands in that universe even more like
Yeah.
planets and like galaxies and everything. Like,
Yeah,
it
the
just
only
gets
thing I've heard about
bigger,
is like
bigger.
more tournaments and
a lot of tournaments, a lot of cool
that.
fighting still, dude. A lot of that classic training that you love. A lot of good humor.
So I haven't spent. I watched the two movies,
Yeah.
but I haven't spent a lot of time in Dragon Ball Super. You think about Dragon Ball Z, right? Kind of the cliche, the epitome of, well, this person's a million times stronger, and now we can not only blow up planets, we can blow up. Like it just gets more and more and more
for
insane.
sure.
And you think about where Dragon Ball Z ended, and you have this whole new series where you're fighting gods. I mean, how do you make it feel meaningful when you have to raise the stakes yet again, when you have to introduce even more power? How do they keep that interesting?
It's a lot of it is the dynamic between the characters and their motives for fighting and how they handle that. Like it is like if that kind of stuff bugs you, like fighting and everyone's super strong. Like there is characters like for instance that are always like super insanely powerful. Like Goku's no match for that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is, it's not changing the formula. It's
Yeah.
not like trying to flip Dragon Ball on its head or anything
totally,
like that. It's kind of like more the same,
hey.
but it's
So what?
right. So what? It's just like it's just building upon the story, and it's fun seeing the journey these characters go on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that really caught my attention that you said is how much time they focus. Like, it's not always like chaos, intense battle.
Yeah, it's
you
not
have a lot
like
of
you
downtime
get
with these characters.
Yeah, you get like Boo chilling at Hercule's house or Mr. Satan house, and him just
So
sitting
jolly.
there. They're hanging out talking like Gohan with his baby Pan and stuff like that. Their
Yeah.
life of Videl, how he's hanging with that. You've seen like Goten and Trunks just dicking around having fun.
So good. Yeah, and speaking of, that reminded me of why I like Boruto so much is because it's the kids now. So they're not crazy powerful. They're not blowing up
Yeah.
forests and stuff. Like small scale learning ninjutsu, which is so cool. And they're born at a time of peace too, which I
Yeah.
love. So it's not as valued, it's not as rigorous. Like I love seeing how the political climate has changed post Naruto Sasuke. I think
Yeah, the
I think
world-
that is
yeah.
so interesting. So
But yeah, Dragon Ball Super is nothing like groundbreaking you've never seen before.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's fun, dude. It's great to see his characters back again. It feels like Dragon Ball, dude. It doesn't feel like filler like GT did more so.
yeah.
So what?
Yeah,
So what?
I don't need some.
I'm having fun watching
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
cozy, man.
Yeah.
There's all these animes out there like Attack on Titan where fucking disturbing
Dude, Ben,
shit going on. It's nice to cool off with Dragon Ball.
seriously- Ben, seriously, I watched the first 2 episodes of season 2 on Attack on Titan,
Yeah.
and I'm like
Uncomfortable.
nervous. I'm so nervous to go back. I need to like pump myself up to get back into that world because it's so oppressive and so intimidating
Here's
and
what
so brutal.
I'm going to motivate you to watch more Attack on Titan so
God.
we can talk about Attack on Titan in greater depth in the future. It is uncomfortable, but what do I know about you? What do you
I
love?
love it.
You love build-up and you love payoff.
Yes,
Attack on Titan
for sure.
weaves these complex mysteries, and the way that they pay them off is really satisfying to see.
I saw like
you want to get there.
Fur Titan.
Beast Titan.
So disturbing.
Whoa,
Beast Titan who can talk.
Oh man.
Payoffs, Huber. Payoffs. The show that I want to recommend is called Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
What?
Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So it's...
I can always count on Ben to throw some anime I've never heard of.
You guys have said like 7 since I've been sitting here that I've never heard of.
It's pretty popular, but it's a comedy slice of life anime. But what makes it so good is like the setup is you have this office worker. You have Kobayashi. She's a woman. She's working in this office, and she opens the door one day, and there's this maid there. And this maid is a dragon, an actual dragon who has a human form and a giant, powerful, I can cause the apocalypse dragon form.
Whoa.
And apparently, so Kobayashi likes to get drunk. And she was drunk and wandering through the forest, and somehow in her drunken state, she convinced this Toru to come and be a maid for her. And it turns out that she's also like this maid otaku, where she's really into that. It's a nerdy side that doesn't really come out unless she's drunk. And Kobayashi is a very practical person, and she's like, "No, you can't. You're a dragon. You can't be a maid in my house. It doesn't make any sense." But she's late for work, and she's like, "Fly me to work." And she kind of processes the situation, and they build a relationship, and other dragons come into play, and it's really funny and it's really cute, and the animation's great. But this is a recommendation because I want to keep it brief. We could spend a whole episode talking about it. I have a lot to say. I think Kobayashi, the main character, is the most interesting thing about it. It's not your typical, like, schoolgirl or underdog boy. It's this, like, older lady who doesn't have a lot of energy, who's an introvert, who's not really great at socializing with people, who, like, a side of her doesn't come out unless she's drunk. She drinks all the time. She's not, like, an exciting person. There are times where the dragons are playing and she's like, yeah, I'm just going to take a nap. And so it's just this really relatable, grounded person, and watching her kind of deal with and process these fantastical creatures is super well done and gives this funny, fluffy, lighthearted show a lot of heart. And that's what makes it, I think, a step above other slice of life comedy things. It's really nice. Good. So that's
really
jolly. It's awesome. Like there's a character with giant boobs, and I like, she's really fun. And I heard people talking about like, oh, the sexual tension between these characters. I thought, oh, it's just gonna be another one of those shows. That's fine. I like that show. I'm in. But it also ended up being much more than that, and so that's why I'm recommending it. That's why I want people to watch it. I think you'll get something out of it. I think it's cool.
Nice.
So yeah, Huber.
I also watched Castlevania. I don't know if you guys have talked about that.
We talked a little bit about it on Framestrap. Brad talked about it, but like people want to know about Castlevania. They want opinions on Castlevania. Give it to me.
Lay it on us.
Mixed.
I haven't seen it yet.
Positively mixed. Really enjoyed it, but the music,
that's my biggest complaint.
threw me off.
What's wrong with the music?
It just doesn't it didn't fit. Really enjoyed the fights, and that there weren't a lot of them. I loved this. It sounds like I didn't like it. I loved it, but it felt like a demo, like a proof of concept.
It's like just getting started.
Like, yo, we can do this, but like if I'm a businessman, it's like, yo, you can do that, but you got to prove that you can do it. So make a couple episodes. And it's like, okay, we'll make a couple, and here you go. You know, so that's ultimately what it felt like, because there were only 4.
It feels like part 1.
Yeah, it felt like part 0 almost. Like it was a prologue, really. And then I heard season 2 is going to be, I think, 8 or 10 episodes. So season 2 will be the real deal. So this made me really excited for that. But as its own standalone season 1, I thought it was good, but not like legendary. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely had more attachment to it because I'm way more familiar with that universe.
Yeah.
And I would see things, I'm like, oh, sick. Stuff
like
that.
I didn't even know the main female character was part of the games. Or I didn't even know Alucard was in
3. Dracula's Curse.
Yeah.
A la carte?
A la carte.
A la carte. A la carte. I will take a
you gotta watch
vampire
that, man.
a la carte,
Yeah,
please.
I will. I'll watch it at some point.
Put down the dragon anime for like
Just another-
one day.
It's a good
It's
dragon
quick. It's
anime.
quick too, man.
So it's
Yeah.
one sitting.
Yeah, one sitting.
80
Boom.
minutes.
Um,
The whip.
Huber, that's
stuff.
your first episode of EZAnime in the bag. How do you feel?
Feel good.
Yeah.
Feels really good. I am so committed to Ippo. I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah, me too.
If you give me those discs, yep. Because it's a lot of episodes, but the fact that I'm already 15 in,
Yeah.
and it's not One Piece style. It's not hundreds, you know.
Yes, it is.
Ippo.
It feels very long.
It's only 70.
I mean, if you watch,
No.
if you watch
It-
season 1, 2, and 3,
It
it's more
goes
than
past
100.
that though.
It's just it's 70
I know,
something and
but
25,
I'm saying
25.
the series goes past that.
We're
Ippo's-
talking about the manga.
Yeah,
if
Ippo
you watch,
is-
How many total episodes?
You're just talking about the
total?
anime, so-
That's
Yeah.
out. Okay, well I'm like, there's
Full.
Yeah, I believe
episode
the
count.
first season is 76.
Okay.
I believe the second season is 25. The
'Kay.
third season is 24.
Okay. One at a time.
my memory
100 I'm
serves.
gonna finish those 76.
okay.
Yeah.
That's like 50 more, 60 more.
Yeah.
I-
I want to finish all 3 seasons.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
really want to. I'm so into it. I'm touched. I'm invested in its journey. I cannot stop until he faces his rival. I need
Absolutely.
to see how it ends. I need to see
Yeah.
if he kills anyone or resorts to performance enhancing drugs.
Huber.
I'm all the way.
Huber and Brad, I would love nothing more than to sit back on this desk and talk about
Yeah.
more Hajime no Ippo because it is excellent because we had such a good time watching it. But there we are. It's just one of those things where it's like we can't commit to anything at this
Yeah,
moment.
for sure.
We have a ton going on. We can't prioritize this over other stuff. And so, yeah, I hope it happens. We'll keep you updated. We'll let you know. We're going to be watching. We'll give you updates.
Yeah.
And yeah,
At any rate, I'm going to finish that Attack on Titan
please do.
next.
Please do. I want to do
So
that episode.
Yeah, I'm nervous about
I
it.
don't get disturbed, Ben, at all. You know me. Love feeling the kill.
Right.
Love the intimate kill.
The suddenness of the kills.
Love graphic violence.
how dispassionate those titans are.
Yeah, like I am freaked out just by the first 2 episodes of this season. Like,
Yeah, it's disturbing.
I wish I could sit here and be like, yeah, there are waves. It's like, no, it's
no,
just
the whole way,
it's just,
the whole way through.
it's just upsetting the whole time. Yeah. So next week, next Friday, we're going to be doing Fooly Cooly. Mm-hmm. Be Brad and myself talking about that.
Probably a shorter episode because it's not that long.
Yeah, maybe a shorter episode because it's not that long. One of my all-time favorites, though.
I'm sorry to keep interjecting here. What's the anime that's coming back that everyone is excited about?
Fooly Cooly would be
Cooly.
that probably. I mean,
It's
there's a
been-
lot.
I don't
Is it
remember.
FCL? Is
Yes.
that okay?
FLCL. Fooly Cooly,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I don't.
This
When
just-
did it originally come out? Like late '90s, I think it was, or late '90s, early 2000s,
I think
something like
it's
that.
early 2000s.
So this
It's
has
been
come
gone,
out.
and there was like 6 episodes maybe, and that was it.
Whoa.
And now it's just coming back.
Whoa.
Seasons 2 and 3.
So this is a big deal.
This
It
is a big deal.
deal.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
a very beloved
deal.
series.
Cool.
You should watch it.
I have no idea what it is.
It's
It
quick
is-
hitter. I don't even want to tell you what it is.
yeah, I have no idea.
Don't
I don't even
don't
know.
say a word.
Insane.
I don't
Yeah.
even know the
It is-
genre.
it is an insane
It's
ride.
insane. Yeah, it's
It
crazy.
is like
It's a
take
crazy ride.
a rocket to the moon, the anime. Like strap in.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Nice.
But we will be back next week with Fooly Cooly. I want
Mm-hmm.
to say once again to Huber, thank you for joining us. Thank you
Pleasure.
for your energy and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I felt the energy from Huber.
Brad, thank you for your energy and enthusiasm. Thanks for talking about Hajime no Ippo with me. I hope you enjoyed the episode, everybody. We're always reading your feedback. We're always trying to improve. So let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, all that good stuff. And we'll see you soon.